Hey everybody, welcome to Dream Drop Long Distance, a podcast about two best buds reconnecting by smashing through wave after wave of Heartless to grind levels in the Kingdom Hearts series. My name is Kyle Bradshaw, and I'm joined here, as always, by my lovely co-host, my sweet cheese, my rotten soldier, Mitchell.
What's up, Kyle? That was one of the sweetest entrances. That was amazing. Thank you, sir. That made my heart very happy.
You've seen the TikTok, right?
No, I have not. But I thought that was just off the dome. I wish you wouldn't have told me it was a TikTok.
No, it's this running thing from it's this long quote from What We Do in the Shadows. It's my sweet cheese, my rotten soldier, my good time boy. Just keeps going on about these. Anyway,
that's one show I still have not dabbled in.
It's something. But so how you been this week?
Dude, been good. I played a bit more than I think we originally planned on, but I've heard you did as well. So I think, and we won't go too into detail, but we have actually progressed a bit further than we originally talked about, which I'm kind of glad, because I feel like, because we talked about only this episode being mainly the Hades Cup. And you tell me, it was a lot shorter than I remember it being as a kid.
I mean, shorter is a word for it. I think there just wasn't a whole lot happening, because it's certainly a long cup. There's 50 rounds in there, or 49 technically. That's incredibly long. But yeah, there just wasn't a whole lot happening. I remember there being more story to what was happening in Olympus Coliseum, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah, there wasn't much story element to it really at all, which I'm very surprised about. Outside of the I guess the mini bosses, and even those I feel like weren't very intriguing. I wish they would have thrown more of the different types of mini bosses that you had throughout the game. One of the mini bosses, it was from the Deep Jungle. It was the invisible, I can never remember its name. I just call it the invisible gecko.
Stealth Sneak or something like that?
Yeah, Stealth Sneak. But at this level, I mean, the invisibility, once you know you can lock onto it when you're invisible, I mean, they're hardly an issue. And at one point, late game in the Hades Cup, they actually throw two of them at you. That fight, I felt, was so lackluster, because at that point, and I mean, you tell me, so to anybody listening, Kyle and I may have grinded a bit for this fight, but then we may have also overdid it a little bit. So the fights kind of got a little, I mean, I'll say it. Both of those guys were nothing. I honestly didn't even realize there were two of them until two of them appeared, and I realized I had been fighting two the entire time.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I had some trouble with the cup when I first attempted it around level 60.
Yeah.
But by the time I hit level 70, it was a joke.
Yeah, I think by the time I was like 60, 61 when I got to the third rung of fights, and I was like, okay, I can't beat. So to anybody, the third round mini bosses are Cloud and Leon, who we were fighting at the same time, which can be a bit tricky, especially when they both hit their ultimates.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, okay, I'll go, handle a couple things, come back. I might have over leveled a bit. And then when I walked into the Hades Cup the next time, I was level 68. And at that point, I was kind of bummed because it was almost too easy. We cleared everything up until the last rung of fights easily without anybody dropping. So I was kind of like, okay. And to anybody curious, so the Hades Cup it's 5 rounds of 10. And at the end of every 10 fights, you have a boss, or a mini boss type thing you have to fight. The first one being Cerberus, which I think is you and I both spoke about, Kyle. This one, especially when you first fight him, he seems scaled up. Like, he seems like the curve was increased for this fight.
Yeah, which they kind of alluded to originally when the first time that you face Cerberus as part of the Olympus Coliseum story. Mm-hmm. Hercules is like, yeah, I took him down a little bit, but don't let the kid know. So yeah, so they put that in the story for a reason why the Cerberus fight was actually hard the second time around, but I felt very underleveled for it at 60, 61.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I can't do this. I'm getting one shot, and so is Donald, and so is Goofy, and I'm just going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't come back until I had the Ultima weapon, so I
damn.
just pounding him with that.
Okay, I definitely haven't synthesized that yet. But Divine Rose, I feel like has been plenty for the Hades Cup.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially being a melee type like you were.
Yeah, that was one thing. I definitely went in with a heavy, took off Lucky Strike, took off anything that had anything to do outside of crit bonuses, tech bonuses, anything. I was just hammering. Oh, man. Because I'm at that point now, I feel, where Goofy and I can each take a Guardian in probably a 2-3 hit combo individually. And so a lot of Heartless really they're not quite there anymore. But then, as the Hades Cup progresses, you beat Cerberus, you beat Cloud and Leon eventually. And then really the next big boss fight you do is it turns a dark red. There's like a spooky forest looking thing around it, and then Hades comes out. And, he gives you the whole like, hey, Hades, Lord of the Dead, how you doing?
You say that, but there was actually a behemoth fight in the middle there. But the behemoth is so, like, you don't even think about it anymore. It's hardly even a mini-boss. It's just kind of disappointing that, like, forget it entirely.
If you would have said it, I would have been like, I don't remember that. I hardly consider those mini-bosses anymore.
Yeah, they're just time wasters, it feels like. But the designers of the game just loved that concept. I don't know.
They do, and... bravo to them. They were able to throw something like that at you, but after a while, it's starting to get repetitive. But the Hades fight, man, I was hoping for a little bit more on Proud mode, but again, I think that's just because we might have been a little over-leveled. But knowing that it's like, okay, as long as you're not right near him when he bursts into flames, you're okay. His area effect where he just spins and does like a big, a line of fire. As long as you dodge roll it, it won't hurt you. Is kind of, I don't know. I feel like Hades could have been upped a bit for the final mix.
Yeah, I was very well prepared for this fight, having played so much Elden Ring. But I will say that as a kid, this fight was really hard. So I don't know how much harder I would have wanted it to be. But then again, we are playing on Proud, where we do expect a level of difficulty. So I don't know. I'm back and forth on it. But I think as a child, what that fight was probably trying to teach you was that when you use dodge roll, you are invincible for a little bit. Because as soon as you realize that, that's when you realize, oh, I don't need to be constantly going in the same direction of circle that Hades is. I need to go the opposite way. I need to roll into the flames.
Yes, that was the thing. Is that it was coming. If you roll into them at the exact right time, I think he maybe hit me twice, and that was only because I timed it incorrectly. But once you figure that out, that kind of takes away his main weapon.
Right, because his other one where he's just kind of shooting flames out in front of him, all you have to do is run away for a couple seconds, and then his arms, for whatever reason, spread wide enough that you can just attack him from the front, and it's okay.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a weird fight, and it had a weird beginning, because he just kind of shows up. He's been this looming villain of the world. He was part of Maleficent's cabal of villains, and his only thing here is he just rolls up and says, hey, Hades, Lord of the Dead, how you doing?
I know. I wish they would have gave him more story element. And then when you beat him, it's even kind of lackluster there.
Yeah, and you never really learn anything. Like, early on in the story of this world, you learn that he and Cloud have a deal going on, and that part of that deal is kill Hercules. Oh, and I'm changing the deal. You also have to kill this kid, Sora. But what is Cloud getting? What was Hades going to do for him? Because the only thing that I could think of personally would be to, just knowing the story of Cloud, would be to bring Aerith back. But she's alive in this world, so I don't know what Cloud is doing for Hades here.
Yeah, they didn't really go into the detail for that. I don't know. It was weird. I felt like it was kind of underutilized. Hades is one of my favorite villains, and I feel like he also is one of the most thoughtful in the way that he handles things. And to me, to give the villain, who is a very intelligent, kind of such a... And, I mean, he was planning all this. He was planning out the demise of Hercules through all these channels and avenues. And at that point, he was like, oh, now I'm also going to integrate my plan into destroying these 3 outsiders. And then it just kind of fell off the rails story-wise.
Part of me thinks that this is a result of like last minute crunch trying to put the game together. Like they had a deadline and they were trying to get everything to a certain point in time for that deadline and they just couldn't make it. So they just did the best that they could with what they had, which I'll give them credit. It was still plenty enjoyable.
Yeah, no.
But it just, you could tell that there's some loose threads. But thankfully they give you multiple opportunities to tug on those loose threads later on.
They do. And then, so you beat Hades, and then what you thought was the final boss of that cup was actually not. And then you're introduced to the Rock Titan, which was one of the 4, I guess technically the Cyclops in that movie was the 5th, one of the 5 Titans that is basically a big 2-headed rock mountain giant who you have to fight. And you almost have to like scale him. Very much a gargantuan fight.
It really felt like they were trying to pull on threads from Shadow of the Colossus, pull on some of the ideas from that game. And it worked for what they could do. It was fun. It probably felt really cool in that era, in that time. But today it doesn't really hold up. It was also just like easy, like really, really easy, right?
I don't think he hit me. Like, I won't, like, not lying. I honestly don't remember at any point in that fight being like, I am worried he is going to damage me. Once Donald, Goofy, and I were able to get to his head that we were attacking, that was it. He was useless.
Oh, you got Donald and Goofy up there too? It was just me. I beat the snot out of his heads. I didn't get Donald and Goofy all the way up there too.
I wasn't planning on them being up there, but after I got to whacking him for a minute, they got up there, and I was like, oh, hey guys. And then once Goofy started hitting him, I was like, all right, yeah, we're done. This is done.
It's a joke of a fight at that point. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was a very, very short, like I remember I got done with the fight, and I kind of sat there, I was like, man, I don't know how I feel about this. And then I left, because I was like, whatever, I'll come back later.
Yeah, it's just kind of an empty victory. I can't even think of the attacks that it really has. It's like it could step on you, and then maybe when you're up on its head, it can bite you. It doesn't really do much. It just has a lot of health.
Yeah, that was, the main factor I took out of it was like, don't stand under it, and it might take you a second to whack it, but that's kind of it. Yeah, I don't know. The Hades Cup, it wasn't the Winnie the Pooh level. Let me put it like that.
Yeah, not at all. So, but after that, my first stop was to actually attempt the gold match at the end of the Hades Cup.
Okay.
So the gold match being the Ice Titan, which is actually a respectable, difficult fight if you aren't like completely prepared of what to do, and if you don't, especially impossible if you don't have Leaf Bracer.
Yes, this Titan was way more of a fight, and the first time you fight it, it's got its gimmick, and if you don't know what you're doing, and like you said, if you're not prepared, you are in for quite a task to try to beat this thing.
Especially since the first instinct that I imagine a lot of players have when they're going into a boss fight is, okay, time to cast arrow, because I need to attack faster, I need to have some defense, and he's shooting bullets at me, I need to have defense right now. But that's actually the opposite of what you need to do.
They throw that back at your face so quickly.
Yeah, so the gimmick here is that if you cast arrow, he shoots even bigger bullets that I think aren't deflected by arrow. I don't know. They don't do a very good job of reinforcing that arrow is not the way to go, I don't think. But the gist is that you just need to use block to send his icicles back at his face. to the credit of the game designers here, they made it fun to a certain extent, and they made it worthwhile. This was a boss fight that was worth replaying. Every single time that you blocked one of his icicles and sent it back at him, you got tech experience.
Yes.
And if you had a couple tech boosts on, you got 100 points of experience every single time. And that's levels really quick.
Absolutely. To anybody listening, I will admit, I had an issue with it. Kyle told me how to beat him. I'll be honest. I have no problem saying that my friend helped me beat this thing.
Okay, no. Let's credit you a little better here. I didn't tell you how to beat him. I just told you how to be equipped. You figured the deflecting part back on your own.
Okay.
I just said, have block ready, have leaf bracer, and you figured the rest out.
Fair enough. Because this thing, I will say, because I found in this fight, what made it interesting and what made it challenging was that while you were trying to deflect these icicle shots back at him, the majority of the time, he is not giving you a very big window to do it, or he is doing it in between combos that have a large area of effect, or hit you pretty damn hard.
Yeah, it took me a long time to actually jump over his things. I was just kind of tanking through it a little bit because I had like 3 cosmic arts on Sora, so I was just like tanking it and healing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you eventually I started realizing, oh, okay, he's doing the breath thing. I'll jump over that and not take that damage, and then I'll deflect right afterward because he's not going to give me a window to. Yeah, chaos.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a slow burn. At least I find this is a very, very slow burn. You have to take your time. You can't rush this fight. He's only going to give you so many opportunities to hit him. And, after, I think it's like every health bar he drops, you get to go and whack him a little bit. But the majority of the battle is going to be you needing to adjust to his gimmicks and practicing your timing, which I think will help a lot later in probably some of the next late game stuff. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how learning how to block better in Kingdom Hearts helps me in the later games.
Me too. Yeah, I think that was a cool bonus to this. But if I had to grade it, I would say Hades Cup was a, I don't know, 6 out of 10 overall.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like a 6. It was fine. And part of that's on us because we over leveled. But I still think that it could have been more interesting. Like there could have been more variety. They could have introduced other bosses. Like you were saying about the sneak, the gecko bosses. I think it would have been cool to see a stronger version of the Trickster from Alice in Wonderland or any of the other bosses. Like they basically just brought back the gecko and the 2 versions of the armor from Traverse Town. There weren't any other notable repeat bosses but it could have made things more interesting if there were.
I agree. There was so much they could have done. I mean, they could have switched out a multiple variety of pot spiders mixed with the exploding ones, but instead you give me 2 separate rounds of, you don't know how many of the soldier heartless I'm going to throw at you. You don't know how many of the ball ghost heartless I'm going to throw at you. And I did it twice. And I was like, that's kind of lazy.
Yeah.
When there was
3 times even, because there's one with the invisibles, as they're called. I was calling it Invincibles last episode, but invisibles.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, it's a gimmick, get over it.
Yeah. So, but Hades Cup, 6 out of 10. Ice Titan fight, I'll give it an 8. I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
Absolutely. Yeah. We will not discuss the platinum match just yet. That is for a later time. But what did you end up doing after the Hades Cup?
So after the Hades Cup, I went and, so to anybody who were wondering, there are a couple of secret bosses in the game that you can go back to some of the other worlds and try to fight. I definitely went and did a little bit of synthesis to try to acquire a couple things. So I went to Agrabah to fight the secret boss there.
Yeah. So do you know the story behind this boss?
So I remember I was sitting on my couch and I saw the name of it. Kyle, can you actually, you might be able to describe it better. Paint us a picture of like how you get to this boss.
So For one, you have no idea that this boss exists unless you decide to go back and visit Agrabah.
Nope, not at all.
And if you do go back and visit Agrabah, there's still a 50-50 whether you're going to find it, because if you port into the Cave of Wonders, you're not going to notice it because that's just not where you find it. You have to go to Aladdin's house and you see the magic carpet freaking out about something. And you're like, okay, well, let me go see what's going on. Magic carpet takes you out into the desert to flying swordsmen with 6 arms.
Man, I love the design of this boss. Best way I can describe it, they went with like the Egyptian style of like a pearlescent armor with 6 golden arms, each holding a blade, kind of curved, and he has a golden snake head. He pops up out of the air or out of the ground, knocks carpet to the side. Our 3 heroes hit the ground, and you're greeted by this thing. And all of a sudden, these pillars bust out from the desert, and it becomes a wall, like an invisible barrier. And the fight is this guy's the enemy's name is Kurt Zisa.
So, do you know the story behind this? Behind its name?
I don't remember. I know this is not some Disney name, and it's definitely not some like culturally Egyptian name. Do you know what it is?
Yeah. So ahead of the game's release, Square Enix held a contest called Name in Game.
I don't believe you.
And literally some dude named Kurt Zisa won this contest, and this Heartless is named after him.
What? I gotta look.
I don't know how it was selected. Like, did they select it randomly? Or, my theory, because I have not Googled it, and I'm sure somebody knows the actual truth to this, but this is just my theory. They probably picked the coolest sounding name. Because I gotta say, Kurt Zisa is a cool name. I don't know, Zisa? Like, who has a last name like Zisa?
But Kurt? That was my main thing where I was like, there's something weird about this name. Like, Kurt? Kurt is, I don't know, it's just a very human name to me. And so I was kind of thrown off when I saw it, because I thought it was almost maybe like pronounced differently, or maybe there was a silent letter, and it was like, no, this is how it's spelled. That's really funny. I did not know they had a freaking, like, I'm thinking like, oh, they'll give some, for something like that, they normally just give you like a random NPC in town.
Yeah, nope, they named a boss after him. This boss only appeared, or I should say first appeared, in the American release. It did not appear in the Japanese release until Final Mix came out later on that year.
Well, kudos to him, man, because he is named after probably one of my favorite fights so far in this game.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was actually wondering, was how you enjoyed or did not enjoy this fight, because I know that you are very much a melee type. You don't have hardly any magic in your build at all. Screw magic. But the whole point of this boss fight is that he has 2 phases that he keeps flip-flopping between, where he's either only able to be damaged by melee attacks or only able to be damaged by magic.
So magic isn't part of my build, but what I did figure out was the majority of my magical spells are pretty weak. So what I did was, after the first time I fought him, I respect slightly to accommodate for a little bit more magic. So I'm running at like right around 9 on the magic scale. And that gave me just enough to where my Thundaga is useful.
That makes sense.
And so I can take him in the melee rounds like it's nothing. It's whenever the magic round comes around, that you can only damage him with magic. So Kurt Zisa has 2 specific rounds to make him, actually it's kind of 3. There is the first round where he has these 2 glowing orbs in his hand, and you just have to break the orbs in any way you can. And then you get to whack his head a couple times.
During that phase, you are locked out of your magic altogether. Like, spellcasting is entirely unavailable to the entire party.
Yes, bring items. Bring items for this fight, or it will screw you.
That is exactly what happened to me, because I only carry Cure and usually Ethers. Like, I don't even carry the elixirs on me most of the time. So I had a lot of trouble with this. There were quite a few times that I had close calls getting those orbs down. in time to cure myself from all the damage I've been taking.
I was going to ask you the same thing. Whenever it locked you out of magic, how did you fare?
Yeah, it was not fun. I mean, I'm thankful that I had Goofy with me. And that's about all I was running on, because I was still using the Lady Luck Keyblade at that point. So it had some attack ability, but it was primarily focused on the mana.
Yes.
I was very thankful to have Goofy in my party. That's all I can really say about that.
I bet. So that was one thing I got very lucky with, at least the build that I built everyone around, is that when the magic round came around, Donald was a stud. Like, Donald put in work during that magic round, man.
I doubt Daisy has ever called Donald a stud, but okay, you do you, Mitchell.
Well, she needs to get around to it. And then in a physical round, I mean, Goofy and I absolutely demolished him. Like I said, it really came down to when his third phase, when he started to do his spinning blade type attack. That took me by surprise. Basically, he'll either be horizontal spinning his blades in a 360 and fly at you, and then he'll swing up into the air, and he'll either go horizontal again, or he'll go vertical and come straight down on you. I started to realize that there was a particular spot on the map where there was a dip in the sand that was right next to also a high dune. Once I figured out his pattern, I realized I'm like, oh, I can dodge into the dip when he comes at me at a horizontal, and then I can dodge again when he comes at me as a vertical. He basically would kind of skip off the top of the dune and couldn't hit me with the horizontal attack.
Look at you using the map against him. Come on.
I was like, hey man, he's trying to attack us in his terrain. I'm going to use it. And after I realized that, it wasn't really that bad. Now, I will say, I did crap myself just a little bit, only because we were extremely low on potions. And we were wailing away at him like, I got him. And in the game, cheesed it for him. And he got back up. And I'm talking a sliver, maybe 2% health left. And then he immediately went into that spinning Blades of Death combo. And I have never dodged rolled for my life so fast, Kyle.
Oh my God.
I was just like, oh my God. I somehow survived. And then luckily the next round that he did was a physical attack round. And we were able to knock him down pretty easily. But man, that was probably the first time, like, in game, my heart has pumped that hard.
So what you're saying is Kurt Zisa is a 10.
Oh, easy 10 out of 10 fight. I think he's probably, up to this point, is my funnest fight in this game.
Okay, I'm glad we're agreed on that, because this was a lot of fun, and it really taught you to rely on both skills almost equally wherever possible. And I like that. I like that these later boss fights are focused on teaching you concepts that hopefully will come up more as we continue down the series.
I completely agree. And I also like that, because the way this boss was designed, kind of how we've been doing during this entire thing, this was almost a really good test of, hey, Kyle, how did your magic build fare against something that took magic away from you? And on the opposite side, it was like, hey, Mitch, how did you fare against something that you could only use magic against?
Exactly. So this was an interesting one. On that same note, I'm very intrigued to see how a certain boss fight that went the opposite direction for you. But we'll get there in just a little bit. So Kurt Zisa comes to a close. I don't remember anything too interesting happening here. He just kind of like dies and you fly away. Like, nothing too special here. I know for a fact you get one of the pages of Ansem's report.
You definitely get that.
Beyond that, I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I just looked it up. You get the ability Zen Tetsuken.
Oh, yeah. I haven't used that one. But it's common in the later games, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's okay. I don't run it personally, but it's not bad. I don't mind it at all. It's basically just a fighting ability that you get. I don't think it's any more beneficial than some of the other stuff you get. I still think Blitz is my favorite.
Oh, yeah, easily, yeah. With that, after this fight, I went straight to the next boss fight. So did you do any other running around before moving on?
I think what I had done, I want to say I went and got the rest of there were 6 Dalmatians I was missing. And so I went and got those. And so I did collect all 99 Dalmatians.
You know, you're right. I think I did that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the Dalmatians, it was like a quick run around. It was a cute little cutscene watching them all get returned in Traverse Town. And, they give you the final form of Aroga.
It's just like a slightly bigger air wave or air bubble around you. And it does a little more damage.
Which comes in handy for the next fight that we're going to participate in. This one, I think, has stolen my heart as the best aesthetic design of the bosses that we're going to fight.
Ooh, okay.
So this takes place in Neverland. Before you activate the princess-powered super weapon in Hollow Bastion, you are able to land at the clock tower in Neverland, and there you can you get those rewards that we were talking about every hour, whatever. After the weapon is activated, you can't land there anymore, which is sort of a clue. And normally the way to get from the clock tower to the pirate ship and back without going to your gummy ship first is to talk to Tinkerbell, who navigates you and flies you over. So what you do is you land in Neverland and you see Tinkerbell, but she can't tell you anything because you don't have Peter Pan with you.
Which I was mildly upset by. Yeah,
so you swap Goofy out and you get Peter Pan in your party. Please tell me you swapped Goofy out, not Donald.
Oh, yeah, no, So I did the fight once, didn't realize, and went, oh, okay. Second round was much different. But yes, on the second time, I swapped Peter Pan for Goofy.
So you ditch Goofy. Much as I love fighting with him, you ditch Goofy and you take Peter Pan and you fly over to the clock tower. And in mid-flight, a literal phantom flies alongside of you and starts being spooky. And I don't know, he's just cool and very, very essence of Halloween more than anything in Halloween Town. This thing is spooky in all the right ways.
So somebody explained to me this was designed after a Final Fantasy boss, which totally can see that. And so to describe to anybody, this boss is called the Phantom. It is a black-cloaked, kind of very spiky fingered, faceless being, just cloaked, but it has this really slick blackish gray cloak body with these kind of white tipped bottom kind of flowy area. And yeah, it's so cool, especially the first time it flies up on the side of you and you're like, what do you want? You can tell it's like, oh, I'm here to square up.
So this particular fight, I don't know how long it would have taken me to finish it if I didn't read a guide. Like, I don't think I could have just sat there and banged my head against the wall and figured it out. It was frustrating.
I will say I didn't use the guide the first 2 times I tried, mainly because I just couldn't figure out the Doom mechanic. So Doom was a spell in the Final Fantasy series where a boss would cast Doom on one of your players, and after a certain amount of rounds, instant death. Boom, your player's down. So in this, they bring that into this game, but they do a little twist on it where the Phantom casts Doom on, I don't remember I don't remember if it hits Sora, but it definitely hits Peter and Donald.
It might be random. I don't remember if it's random, but it never hits Sora first or second. It always takes out the party members and leaves Sora for last.
I kind of like that. It's a little more ominous, too, where it's like, I'm going to take out all of your friends, and then I'm coming for you.
Yeah, exactly. And when Doom hits them and it counts all the way down, because it puts I think it counts down from 12.
It does.
Over the top of whoever's affected's head. It counts down from 12. And at the end, they go down, and you cannot get them back up. No cure will work. No potion will work. They are down. The strategy here, which, again, I wouldn't have figured this out. The strategy here is to cast Stop on the clock tower, because every time the Phantom uses Doom, the clock tower begins, the minute hand on the clock begins turning until time is up. So you have to stay close to the clock tower, cast stop on it every 45 seconds or so, 30 to 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And just keep that up, or you are going to be down team members pretty quickly.
Yeah, this fight was heavy. Like, you have to be paying attention to not only the clock, because there were a couple times I caught myself slipping where I remembered at first I was doing a pretty good job of keeping count in my head. I'm like, all right, it's been about 30 seconds. Let me go recast Stopra on this thing. But there were a couple times I was in the middle of a fight. I was feeling it. And all of a sudden, I saw their numbers start going down again. And I was like, oh, shit. And I turn around and the clock is at 5 now. And I would have to run over really quick and stop it because I completely spaced. And it almost got him killed. And yeah, that clock mechanic, I love it. That's such a cool idea. Because it really puts you on edge during this fight.
Yeah, this guy is terrifying. He's not scary in a horror sense, but he's terrifying in a dreadful sense, and I love that.
Yeah. Now, as far as his damaging mechanic, what you had to do to actually damage him, how did you fare? And can you explain how it works?
Barely. I can barely explain it. I know that he's got an orb that appears at the bottom of his cloak that can be one of 4 different colors: red, blue, yellow, or white. And depending on what color the orb is, that determines what magic can damage him at that time.
Yes.
Or if it's white, I think he's vulnerable to physical attacks.
You are 100% correct.
I have no idea how he actually takes damage because I spent most of my time in that fight making sure that Donald had MP, making sure that Peter Pan was up, and making sure that the clock was stopped. I really did not get to actually put much damage in on the Phantom in this fight.
See, that's so interesting because once I realized that, red orb underneath him meant fire, blue, blizzard, yellow, lightning, white, physical attack. I feel like I did a really good job of clock management, but I actually put a bit of damage into this guy. I was in his face a lot, only because the magic mechanics require you to be within a certain distance of them to really be able to hit him. Like Thundaga, you can only be so far from him to hit him. Fire or Firaga, you not only have to be decently close to him, but he has to almost be in front of you. Same thing with Blizzard. If he's not directly in front of you, you're missing by a mile. And this dude is fast. He moves around the map. He's constantly evading and staying out of your line of sight a little bit. And so that made it a bit more challenging. But overall, it was a little time consuming. But I didn't have a hard time bringing him down.
I feel about the same, but it just kind of a different responsibility behind it, though. Mm-hmm. I really feel like this boss fight showed me that Donald and Peter Pan can really shine in a fight if they're given the opportunity to do so. Donald, I want to say, did the majority of the damage to the Phantom.
Interesting. Okay, so you almost played like a support class.
Yeah, absolutely. Sora was playing support, and it was really interesting to do.
Wow.
I was having to manage my own Aroga because the Phantom would shoot out a bolt that would basically kill you if you got hit by it, unless you had arrow up.
Okay.
And then I just had to keep casting Stop and Cure.
So, funny story. I figured out the trick. So, the Phantom at some point will do this thing where it'll raise its hands in the air and conjure this purple, flaming, smoke-looking thing. And it will. If it hits you, I think I looked it up, it can hit you up to 5 times with it, in succession.
Mm-hmm.
But what I figured out was, as you see him going to cast, if you just round the corner to another wall of the clock, he can't hit you.
Oh. Okay, well, that's one way to cheese it, sure, yeah.
I think I was maybe running from it, but when I got to the other side of the wall, he cast and it never hit me. And I was like, there's no way. And then I realized that was how you did it. It just, as long as you were kind of out of his line of sight by the time he went to cast, you were fine. And so I was like, oh, okay. And after that, it wasn't much. It was just whittling him down.
So I would put this boss fight probably below Kurt Zisa.
Yeah.
But overall, still a good one. I mean, easily an 8 or a 9. I enjoyed this fight because of the way that it made me change my playstyle in a fun way.
I agree. I'd say I agree between an 8 and a 9, so let's call it an 8.5.
Yeah. So with that, he just kind of like fades into nothingness and you get Stopka.
Final form of the time-stopping magic ability.
And yet another page of Ansem's report.
Yes.
So yeah, after that, the big thing for me was grinding. Because I knew that the last 2 boss fights to finish were really goddamn hard. Like, do not attempt before level 85 kind of hard. And I was level 75, maybe, something like that.
Sheesh.
So what I did was I basically just kept making loops in the hotel at Traverse Town.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent that entire time making loops, earning money. I even, like, sped things up a little bit by only killing the defenders in the hallway and then looping around.
I did the same thing.
That way, because for one, the wizards are harder to kill because they have 2 different ways to go invincible. Hate that, and they don't drop any money. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna kill the 3 defenders. That's 450 experience with all the boosts that I got on, or no, 450 money, and loop through again.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, earning a whole bunch of money, buying orichalcums from the item shop, and then making defense ups. And I probably made like 5 of those for Sora to get ready for the 2 biggest, baddest, nastiest fights in this game. So Mitchell, you know this first one pretty well because this one was in our version of the game, and he's pretty obvious too because he shows up at the same time as the Hades Cup. Directly below the Hades Cup, there's those question marks, and you're like, what is that? I'm so confused. You click it, and what happens, Mitchell?
Oh, man. So, first of all, you are greeted by the fact that you are alone. You do not have Donald and Goofy with you, which I was immediately like, ugh, don't like this. Don't like this at all, because this never works out well for Mitch. And then the arena kind of is surrounded by this flame, and it goes a little darkish red. And then there is this runic magical symbols that appear in the sky, and an energy blast blasts into the middle of the arena. And out of it comes the angelic one-wing jet black form with a long cloak and just completely long silver hair of one of the most iconic villains in, I would arguably say, all of video games. You're fighting Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII.
And oh my god, what an entrance that he makes. If you wander in here too early, which they make it entirely too easy to do at level 60 something, it's way too easy to roll in and be like, hey, what's going on here? And die in 1 minute. Which is so intentional. They make this scary on purpose.
They set you up for this where you can easily walk into that at level 50 after the Hercules. I think it's the Hercules Cup, maybe?
I think it opens as soon as End of the World becomes available.
That's what it is. And it is. I mean, if you're under-leveled, he basically looks at you, pulls this extremely long katana-type sword out, and you're like, oh, what's this guy going to do? And he immediately one-shots you. No, do not pass go. It's done. And then he just walks away. Ugh. It's such an intense boss fight, and he is such an asshole.
I managed to get through Sephiroth because I did the equivalent of an all-nighter and played the ever-loving hell out of Kingdom Hearts for about 2 nights in a row, and got to level 100 and beat him and the next guy that we're going to talk about. But as I understand it, Mitch, you have not had that honor yet.
No. That has not happened, dear friend Kyle. It might be. I mean, I think I'll beat him here pretty soon, but currently I have not reached the level yet that requires me to be able to beat such a. All of his moves are just completely based around cheesing you to death. And, it's painful. It really is. He's so overpowered, man.
I mean, we're a lot stronger now because of Eroga more than anything else. Like having that and better weapons and...
Just get ready. If you go to fight this guy, do not walk in under-leveled. Like Kyle said, level 85 up. Like, get the best weapons you possibly can. It's a fight. It's a dog fight.
And it's honestly a fun one as long as you're ready. The one thing that I will forewarn you and anybody else who wants to attempt it, have elixirs on you. Like, fill your inventory with elixirs. You probably aren't going to need all of them, but it's good to have them because one of the attacks that he does, I think you can interrupt it if you're within range, but if you're not within range when he does this attack, he is going to wipe out all but one hit point and take away all of your magic. So you need to have options quickly. You need to restore your everything as quickly as you can, and the elixir is the best way to do that.
What I've also heard is that, much like his abilities to drain you of any hope and dreams, you can technically break up one of his combos with the Leaf Bracer ability to be able to, like, heal in mid-combo. You just have to make sure it's not the wrong combo, where it has multiple times where it hits you, because some of his combos do drag out a little bit and will actually run longer than Leaf Bracer takes to heal you. So you might get hit, use Leaf Bracer, and then he knocks you back down again.
I'm fine with that. I'd just power through it and just heal, but that's because I have so much MP that it doesn't really matter to me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sitting at like 17 MP right now, and it's pretty wild.
That's insane. I think I'm riding right around 9 or 10.
So that happens, and there's a sick fight that happens like right after too. Like you beat him, and you get the reward, which is a new Keyblade, the One-Winged Angel Keyblade. You save. You're like, oh, cool. I did that fight. That felt nice. All right, I'm gonna go to another world now because I'm done here. You step out of the Olympus Coliseum, and you get to witness a showdown between Cloud and Sephiroth. And it is insane. Like, it plays out like something out of one of the coolest episodes of Naruto.
I love that the game developers gave the fans that, because that's all anybody wanted. They wanted to see Cloud and Sephiroth square off. Like, that is arguably one of the greatest rivalries in Final Fantasies and JRPGs, and I just love it. I haven't beaten it yet, but I remember watching this fight as a kid and just being like, holy crap, this is in this game? Yeah, fantastic.
So with that, we have one final boss.
Oh, wait, rate the fight. Rate the fight out of 10.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Fun level and design and everything. I gotta put it up there as a 9 because it was a lot of fun. And it wasn't too bull crap. If you're strong enough, you can over level yourself to make this fight even easier. Mm-hmm. But you could also challenge yourself with it. It was dynamic. Yeah, I think a solid 9.
Okay, all right, not bad. All right, Sephiroth, hey, you got a 9. We'll give you that one.
So with that done and that cool cutscene afterward watched, there's only one fight left. And that one...
Well, one fight before the end of the game.
Well, yes. We will be tackling the actual end of the game, end of the story, all of that next week. For now, the last thing that we have to handle today is there's a portal in Hollow Bastion, which is the same portal that you previously took to take on Maleficent's dragon form. Yeah. And... stepping through that portal, you are greeted. Fans of the series would recognize what you're seeing here, but to the first-time player or to somebody in 2002 or whatever when this game came out, and you have no idea what you're looking at here. You see a man in a black cloak with a big zipper down the middle and these dangling chains from the hood. You don't know what you're dealing with here. This thing is so mysterious, it doesn't even have an audible voice. All you see is text on the screen. The interesting thing is that the only real clue that you get about this guy is Goofy says, "I am Sam?" And the textual voice says, "That name rings familiar." It's the only clue you really get as to who this could be. This guy's got freaking Palpatine powers, shooting lightning bolts at Sora. He's got laser swords that he whips around at you. He's got an energy shield that he puts up. The real bullcrap of this fight, though, the reason why I don't like this fight and would probably put it at like a 5 is because there's a mechanic where you are locked out of your attacks and your items and your magic. You're locked out of all of it.
What?
And your action area is replaced with 3 instances of shock and 1 instance of release. And those are like rotating as you're moving. So you need to stop yourself, and that slows down the rotation and you can release yourself. But if you click shock on accident, you start taking damage. So you have to like try and time it right so that you get released out of his attack. And 9 times out of 10 that I failed this fight, it was because of that move. Like, this guy is just bullcrap, and I do not like fighting him. I mean, he's cool looking and all of that, but God, I don't even advise you to do this one, Mitch. I really don't.
Yeah, I might. I don't know. That's one of those fights where, I hate to say it, I might just go and watch the animatic. If you're saying that it's not even really, if it's like a 5 out of 10 and it's a pretty big cheese mechanic, I mean, I might go and try to fight him. I think I should. I really do, just to like try to experience it and see what that fight is like.
I think you're onto something though with the animatic here. Why don't we cut away for a second, watch that real quick?
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
And because I have a question. I'm really curious about this. I really want to know what you think about this. So hang on. We will be right back. We're going to watch that right now. Okay.
Dude.
So what do you think of that guy?
What the fuck? Okay. Questions, first of all. Also, this is the best animation Sora has had in this entire game.
Right. Yeah. His face is moving. His eyes are moving. His lips are moving in every single interaction here. They put effort into this for sure. Probably because of how much later story implication that it has.
They really, yeah, he emotes a lot in this. Best way I can describe it, a guy or woman or person, human being, creature, thing, very human form with a hood over its head, wearing this kind of almost leathery black full-bodied cloak with a zipper down the middle and some chains off the side of it. It comes to Sora and he's trying to figure out what it is or who they are. And this thing is kind of giving him these riddles of like, I mean, I kind of know you, but you're not a whole thing, which is just, it's a lot of wild things that it's saying. And then Sora tries to attack it, and this thing kind of does like a blinking phase, and Sora goes through it, which I was immediately just like, oh, this is not going to be good. And then immediately shows that it can kind of pull energy out of thin air, and then decides to, in the best way I can describe, force lightning at Sora, which he thankfully can block with his Keyblade. Then it decides to tell Sora, I'm going to test you now. And the fight begins. Yeah, and you get through all the bull crap, and you finally beat him at the end of it. I don't even want to think about that fight again. I only got through it because I was level 100 and very patient. So you get through all of that, and you get to watch a closing scene with him where it looks like you're about to defeat him, right? He's very clearly, very visibly damaged, and he just shakes it off. All the damage that was in his form, he just kind of like removes it. It's like, that was fun. I'm going to leave now. What showed that like he has this glowing hole from his chest to his back. And I'm like, oh, damn, they put a hurting on him. And then he's just like, you're not bad. And then it just basically kind of waves it off. And at which point I'm like, oh, yeah, this dude has not even shown us what he can do yet.
It is absolutely cool to me. So one of the questions I've been wondering, because I've been thinking about this boss for the entire time we've been recording this podcast, one of the things I've been wondering is, do you know who that is that we just fought? Those who are new to the series may want to stop listening now. Go ahead and fast forward a couple seconds. But Mitchell, who do you think that this is?
Is it Roxas?
No. This is Xemnas.
Bullshit.
The energy swords, remember?
Oh, man. Okay. Yes. Oh, wow. Because when does he show up eventually?
You don't get to really face him until the very end of Kingdom Hearts 2.
I thought so. Okay. Wow. They are... Yeah, that is wild. I didn't even... Oh, man. So he shows up even this early in the game.
But only in Japan. Because this boss fight, unlike the other ones we've done, is exclusive to the final mix.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. So they set up nobodies long before the other... They introduced this in Japan in Kingdom Hearts 1. We just didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, months after we got the game, too. It's not like, oh, yeah, it came out the next year. This came out a couple months after our copy came out. So, yeah, they've been planning this for a long time, which is wild.
That's so crazy. Okay, now, yeah, I'm stoked. That's awesome. Okay, so that, I mean, yeah, I guess that fight ends. I mean, the only major stuff we have left to do is to clear the remainder of End of the World.
Yeah, which we have to open the door and see what's behind it, but I don't think we have enough time to get there today.
We do not. We do not.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing what's behind that door. And
Me too.
Well, we just have to wait another week, I guess.
Yeah, man. Well, until then, Kyle, as always, great talking with you.
Absolutely, you too. This has been a blast.
Absolutely. All right, guys. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening.
Hey there, Kingdom Hearts fans. Thanks for listening to the episode. Dream Drop Long Distance is hosted by Mitchell Orsino and Kyle Bradshaw, and is produced by Kyle Bradshaw. Our theme music was written and recorded by Alex McLean.